remember much from my childhood. Most of what I know is from my parents, particularly my mom, telling me stories. But I know my very early childhood was pretty rough. I had severe language delays and issues. I had a lot of behavioral issues. I got overwhelmed easily with sensory issues and emotions.
Did go to special ed. I was told, my parents, I mentioned movement. I used to move a lot. I was told I had ADD. But I learned how to subtract too. So,
nursery school, I remember one time there was this one girl I liked. I remember one time, you know, like for lunch, if I couldn't sit by her, I'll be crying really hard. And I don't think I got along too well with most of the kids that time. I think I cried too much and I make them cry.
The kids actually didn't understand my autism. Because of that, they bullied me, and the teachers didn't do anything about it. And it was kind of a rough experience for me.
Why did I kind of rock my head, grind my teeth? Why did I play even in middle school as a teenager years, 13 and 14? Why did I play with a stick around a tree for 2 hours a day? And that didn't make a lot of sense to me, looking back. And people thought it was kind of weird.
Well, I'll just put it out simply, is the cumulative effect of dealing with the autism and the other two disorders I was diagnosed with had finally taken its toll, and I became depressed and suicidal when I was 14. And when I finally got out of that, not completely, but started to dig myself out of the hole, I had a huge shift. I was much happier, much more confident. School was more enjoyable. It was basically turning over a new leaf.
A dance solo that I created, and it's called Loss and Joy, capital J, a father's story. I'm a father, and a lot of people don't know that I'm a father, and the reason why is because they're not going to hear me talking very much or see me engaging, because I have no contact with my kid. And that's part of a really convoluted, heart-wrenching situation. I share in movement from my perspective. Of course, everybody's got a different, other people in my family and my kid as well. And her name is Joy. So loss and joy plays a bit on her name. When my life exploded, I was sitting up late at night, meeting myself. I was watching a movie called Normal People Scare Me. It's a wonderful documentary. And they just interviewed them. And as I watched these people describe their lives, I'm like, and so when my life blew up, the one thing I had was an understanding, the beginning of an understanding of all these things that didn't make sense were beginning to make sense, why they didn't make sense, if that makes any sense.
Working up the courage socially, it would be working up the courage to start a conversation. Is the social anxiety still very much controls how much I can interact with people, but once I'm comfortable, I do pretty well.
I can be highly social. I can be highly communicative. What this video won't show is that I can be a stark raving lunatic, that I can just be screaming, almost literally pulling out my hair and literally banging my head or banging my fist.
I guess, kind of wish I can date more, but sometimes it's hard, finding a girlfriend is hard to find sometimes. Or, it's kind of like, two people have to kind of tangle with each other. I mean, that's probably the bad saying, but two people need to agree to make it work and, spend time like that so I don't do things by myself.
I can get damn tired trying to filter stuff. it doesn't come natural, and I work at it and I do pretty good, but it can be exhausting. And then I'm shut down for a day and a half.
I did have some bullying, but I pretty much kind of stayed in my shell and kind of stayed away from it. And there were a few kids that always made, well, I remember back in 8th grade, there was this one guy that was bullying me where I guess he'll say something and I always cry about it, and I always wanted people to feel sorry for me. And he kept poking fun at me, and he knew it was getting to me. So I was always feeling sorry and wanted someone to feel sorry for me. And there were a couple people that did, but after a while, when it was going on constantly every day, then people even got tired of it, and then I kind of kept to myself, and I didn't really have any friends. This is back in 8th grade.
The reason why the bullying situation was happening was because they actually were teasing me and making fun of me. And at one point in gym class, this one kid actually tripped me on purpose. And then afterwards, I got sent to the nursing room, and they had me. And my parents suggested that school I went to was not a good experience, so that's when I had to switch schools. It was hurtful for me to be bullied, because you know how people are when they feel bullied. They feel hurt.
The bullying was mostly the typical stuff, maybe saying you're stupid, ignoring, criticizing why I was sad. But like one particular instant I remember really well is when a girl I really liked, I believe it was in middle school, she came up to me and said I had really great ideas and that she wanted me to join the group for the project. And I was just ecstatic. And then when we sat down, I suggested an idea, they immediately criticized it. And then as soon as they stopped criticizing, another girl repeated my exact same idea. They praised it, and then they ignored me for the rest of the session. So pretty much all I did in that group project was give the idea.
I pretty much had a bully assigned to me from first grade through probably junior, probably until junior. And then I got, I guess, bigger than them, and it just kind of went away on its own, maybe.
A lot of kids have experienced that where they get picked last for like a soccer game in school, which happened to me frequently, pretty much, I'd say every time. But there was one day that I didn't even get picked at all. The kids picked a second to last person besides me and then took off running to play the game.
Either people were bullying me very few times or they felt sorry for me. And I can relate better for the people that felt sorry for me. Because they don't beat you up, they kind of try to help you as much as they could.
Was that like a helpful response?
At the time, but looking back, probably not as good because you feel less of a person.
I'm a courtesy clerk at Safeway. I help round up carts and bag groceries, and I walk around the stores every hour and do the floor sweeps. And I answer the phone. Whenever somebody needs help at customer service, I just call the person that I need on the intercom to customer service, and they come just right away.
I'm what's called an IT specialist. I work for the federal government, Department of Labor. And what an IT specialist, that stands for Information Technology. And what I do is I write statistical reports using Oracle database to create that we put on the intranet. And sometimes I do some programming where I program like, how do you say it? Interface type reports that GUI that people can, like there's a report builder where people can decide what parameters they want and kick on run to create a report. And I kind of create those. I'm good with numbers, I like data. Anything with numbers, databases, dates, that's my specialty.
I'm currently starting my second year as a before-after-school teacher at an elementary school. I work with 4 special education students in the afternoon. I'll be starting in my advanced certificate in disability studies, which I hope to turn into a master's. But right now, I'm planning on contacting my professor via email to talk to him about maybe setting up a phone call or email session where we can talk about my disability and how it'll affect the class. Well, my intention is to eventually get my PhD. My hope is to be able to do consulting work with the police and to be able to do teaching in some form so that I can teach them about disability awareness, crisis intervention.
We went to Pikes Peak this past Sunday, and I went up to the top. I mean, we drove to the top, and I drove my car. And Saturday, I went to a concert at Fiddler's Green. It was Cool in the Game, Huey Lewis in the News, who else? Oh, Go-Go's, and The Fix. Most of these are the 80s groups that I remember when I was growing up. They were really popular.
The reason why I love to do choir is, of course, I love to sing, and I've been singing since I was a little boy, and I did it when I was in school, and I am currently now in the Parker Chorale. I have performed a few solos by myself. My junior year in high school, I actually performed a incredible rendition of 8 Days a Week by the Beatles. Ooh, I need your love, babe. Guess you know it's true. Hope you need my love, babe. Guess just like I need you. Hold me, love me, hold me, love me. I ain't got nothing but love, babe. 8 days a week.
Things are much better socially. And that was mainly because I participated in a program for college students. I spent the majority of this program working on my social skills, going on outings with fellow students with disabilities like 3 times a week. And by the end of it, that I had really gotten the hang of socializing.
Having 2 pretty engaged parents was huge for me. At one point, my dad was a Cub Scout leader. At one point, my mom was a Cub Scout leader. I don't know what you call it, but you know, a den mother.
My mom, she was a crazy advocate. She really went all out, doing as much as she could, going to all IP meetings, writing emails to teachers. In elementary school, well, actually in my elementary school, they didn't really have any services for somebody with my disability. Everything was oriented for lower functioning kids. So my mom basically had to guide them by hand through the entire process during elementary school.
It sounds like she did a great job.
Yeah, and the program, and they were very grateful. The principal actually came out when I left the elementary school to thank my mom.
I am an artist. I am a worshiper. I am a father. I am a son. I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. I'm an animal lover. I'm so excited about the natural sciences.
I'm kind, I'm funny, and I'm very heartwarming and pleasant.
Friendly, ambitious. Friendly, ambitious, very active, physically active.
Nerdy, weirdo, and I do like being weird. Kind, goofy. That was 4, I think. honest. What made it better, I'd say the huge shift was back in January this year, so the second semester of the year, when I disclosed my disability to my coworkers. My supervisor had known the entire year and she was doing awesome. But the shift occurred when they finally learned about my disability. They realized I behaved a certain way for a reason. That I wasn't trying to deliberately ignore them when I took longer to processing. Basically, I explained that processing and intelligence don't equate to each other, that you can be highly intelligent but also have significant processing issues. And that I went into the specifics of how it affects me. So like I process slower, I need things broken down into steps, need people to sometimes repeat information. But then I also went into how important it is how they present information to me in the form of articulating when they speak, not talking too loud, not talking too slow.
Some other things that have helped me not get bullied is that I've tried to ignore people who have tried to bully me. Whenever somebody makes a rude remark, I just put them on ignore and just hit the mute button, pretend that there's a mute button like on the TV, and pretend they're not there.
I've learned about what autism spectrum disorder is like for a whole variety of people. There's every one of us, we've got to learn about what is it for me. As you get older, you have more time under your belt to figure that out. That's very true of autism spectrum, but I think that's true of every human being. As you get older, hopefully you get a little wiser, right? The first advice that I would have is get to know somebody. Just get to know them. And if it's like your kid that we're talking about, well, you already know them real well. I'll come back to that. But if you're like their teacher or whatever, just observe. I mean, just spend time with someone.
Always be yourself, number one. I mean, don't try to be somebody else, or just don't try to be something that you don't want to be just to make yourself look good. The other thing, let me see. Other thing is, I guess the biggest thing is like if something in your heart's telling you not to do it, don't do it. Don't do it to listen. Don't listen to other people if it's against your heart or against your heart. Just always follow your heart.
The advice I would give to my younger self is that there are certain things in life that are not always that everybody's good at, but there's only one thing that person has to be good at, and that is the thing that interests you, whether it's science or math or performing arts.
Remember that the ASD isn't the entire child. That it's just one part of them, that they may not be able to achieve as much as other kids, but that doesn't mean they can't achieve what they can, that they still have significant potential, and that they're still an individual with their own identity, their own personality. To really don't use labels, don't assume.
I guess the biggest thing I would say to parents is know what your kid might be going through, like especially the social interaction with school, because that's when things really change. Think about bullying, make sure that they're with the right group of friends, that the teachers and the principal know about it, and how to maybe interact with society. I mean, mostly in school with the teachers and peers. That's kind of hard on parents. See it from the kids' point of view of why they're doing that.
When I became depressed and suicidal, it made me realize that I have two choices in life, that I can either fall apart and cry and whine about how terrible the world is in self-pity, or I can suck it up and realize that bad things are going to happen and that I need to go out and live my life the best I can. A lot more mishaps, but it's going to be a fun ride.
I think my dream job would be to work at maybe a bookstore or a music store or a something like the Disney store or Hallmark. That would be fun.
And I guess the biggest thing in the future is I'm as good as anybody else.